Ji Yang, the most notorious playboy in our circle, got into a car accident and hit his head. His memory is stuck 3 years in the past. He found me and said irritably, "So I just had a meal with my ex-girlfriend. How much longer are you going to keep making a scene?" I was stunned, coming back to my senses. I picked up the little girl from the floor and said softly under his bewildered gaze, "Ji Yang, it's been 3 years since we broke up. I've gotten married and had a child, 01. After putting my daughter to sleep for the night, I leaned against the headboard and scrolled through my phone. A push notification popped up. At 9:00 p.m. on February 17th, Ji Yang, chairman and CEO of Zhuosha, was involved in a car accident in Los Angeles and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. It is reported that Ji Yang suffered severe head trauma and fell into a coma. For further updates, please follow Lancashire News. The accompanying news photo showed a nearly totaled Bugatti Veyron, with Ji Yang, his head covered in blood and eyes closed, being carried on a stretcher. Even while unconscious, his brow remained tightly furrowed. For a moment, I was lost in a daze. It's been 3 years since I last saw this person. The intimate whispers and agonizing heartbreak of those bygone days, I once thought I'd never forget them. Yet in just 1,000 days and nights, they've blurred, as if from another lifetime. I lowered my eyelids and was just about to put down my phone to sleep when I suddenly heard a violent knocking at the door. Afraid the noise would wake my daughter, I hurriedly slipped on my slippers and went to the living room, only to freeze when I looked through the peephole. Ji Yang's head was still bandaged, the gauze already stained with seeping blood, his face a mask of agitation. "Jiang Zhao, open the door. I know you're in there," I checked with the doorman. Flustered and with my mind in a whirl, I opened the door. "Didn't you just get into a car accident the other day? How are you?" Ji Yang acted as if he owned the place, walking right in. His gaze briefly hardened at the sight of the men's slippers on the floor, but he said nothing. "I'm freezing to death," he complained, shoving his coat at me. "What are you doing in this godforsaken middle of nowhere? What about the villa I gave you? Why aren't you staying there?" I was stunned by his overly familiar tone, momentarily at a loss for words. Our breakup 3 years ago was so ugly. Ji Yang's face was terrifyingly dark, and the way he stared at me made me genuinely think he wanted to kill me. He said, "Jiang Zhao, you and your lover boy better stay the hell away from me. Otherwise, I can't guarantee he'll make it out alive." Now, as if nothing had happened, he settled into the sofa with practiced ease, patted his thigh, and lifted his gaze with an air of nonchalance. "Come here." The dim glow of the night lamp fell upon him. His eyes, as sharp and subtly disdainful as ever, tilted upwards at the corners. Yet, his face was so strikingly handsome that the hint of scorn was transformed into an aura of defiant, untamed spirit. I took a step back, frowning. "What are you doing here? We're over." Ji Yang scoffed. "Oh, come on, I know you better than that. Been crying at home again these past couple of days. Haven't you? Alright, that's enough," he said with a hint of impatience, gesturing dismissively. "I just went to the hospital with Ji Yu Zijing. Is it really necessary to be so petty about it?" Seeing that I refused to come closer, Ji Yang mustered his patience, stood up, and pulled me over. His long, slender fingers rested on my stomach, and a touch of gentleness crept into his tone. "I know, you can't help your mood swings when you're pregnant, right? Since you want this child so much, then go ahead and have it. I've already picked out names. If it's a boy, we'll call him Ji Xingzhou. If it's a girl, we'll call her." I finally realized what was wrong. The Ji Yang standing before me was clearly still speaking from 3 years ago. I grabbed his wrist, my voice catching in my throat. "Ji Yang, have you lost your memory?" He paused, then said dismissively, "They all say I hit my head and got amnesia. What a load of crap. My mind's a bit muddled right now, but it's fine. None of it's important anyway. You can tell me everything slowly." He held me close, looking up with eyes full of affection, as if the 3 years we'd been apart had never happened. I pushed him away, struggling to keep my voice steady. "Ji Yang, we've already broken up." He cut me off quickly, the warmth gone from his smile. "Jiang Zhao, that's enough. You think I'd believe that?" A haughty smirk played on his thin lips. "If you were going to leave, you would have done it years ago. You can't live without me." Just then, the sound of a doorknob turning echoed from the hallway. I shoved Ji Yang away. My daughter walked out, rubbing her eyes, her little hand still clutching her favorite bunny plushie. "Mommy," she said, her tiny brow furrowed as she looked at Ji Yang. "Who is he, too?" My breakup with Ji Yang was anything but amicable. I was a child adopted by the Ji family. Child is a generous term. I was really just a playmate his parents found for Ji Yang. From the very first day I entered the Ji household, everyone made it clear, I was to yield to Ji Yang and look after him. I'm 3 years older than Ji Yang, so naturally, I fell into the role of an older sister. Ji Yang was spoiled rotten from a young age and had a terrible temper. When I first arrived, he made my life miserable. He'd put the snakes I feared most on my bed, gather a crowd to mock me for being adopted, and in the dead of night, he'd barge into my room, drag me out of bed with a cruel grip, and tell me, Jiang Zhao, don't you fucking dare think you're actually my sister, you're just a dog my family keeps. You know that. I know I have no right to be angry with Ji Yang. In fact, I'm deeply grateful to Ji Yang's parents for taking me out of the orphanage. If it weren't for them, I would have been sent to some stranger's bed by the director, who secretly trafficked beautiful boys and girls. A child's temper comes and goes in a flash. Under my meticulous care, Ji Yang soon softened. He grew close to me, wouldn't let anyone bully me, would come to my room when he couldn't sleep, and he started calling me sister. I always thought I would play the role of his sister forever. That was until the year he turned 19, when Ji Yang fell in love with Jiyu Zijing. The Jiyu and Ji families were perfectly matched in social status. Jiyu Zijing, like Ji Yang, was a young lady born with a silver spoon in her mouth. She was a radiantly beautiful girl who was crowned the campus belle in her freshman year. Catching Ji Yang's eye, the two naturally became a couple. However, both having been spoiled since childhood, neither Ji Yang nor Jiyu Zijing had an easy temper, and they often quarreled. During another one of their fights, Ji Yang kissed me right in front of Jiyu Zijing, just to spite her. Our relationship changed completely in that moment. Ji Yang and Jiyu Zijing made up soon after, but he never offered me an explanation for that kiss. We never brought it up again, by some unspoken agreement, but we both knew things could never go back to the way they were. Ji Yang and Jiyu Zijing had been together for 3 years, but in the end, a single argument led to their breakup. Heartbroken, Jiyu Zijing left the country, and then, in a drunken stupor, Ji Yang ended up in my bed. I can still remember that chaotic night, the smell of alcohol on his breath as he murmured against my neck, grabbing my wrists and pinning them above my head. Don't push me away. His movements were forceful, yet his voice was pleading. Please, don't push me away. I was frozen in place. After a long moment, I asked him, my voice trembling, Ji Yang, do you know who I am? He answered me with a kiss. Much later, when I was so tired I was nearly asleep, I faintly heard him sigh softly by my ear. You are Jiang Zhao, and just like that, we were together. There was no confession, no ceremony, not even a single I like you exchanged between us. I continued to play the role of the older sister, looking after Ji Yang's daily life, though he became more affectionate towards me. We would take walks on the beach at sunset, snuggle up to watch movies in the deep of night, and fall asleep in each other's arms to the sound of rumbling thunder and rain. For a while there, I truly felt happy. I don't know when I fell for him, but I know I did. So when Jiyu Zijing came back and sought out Ji Yang, I held my tongue. When Ji Yang stood me up on my birthday to have dinner with her, I let it slide too. I love Ji Yang. I know he still hasn't fully grown up, so I'm willing to give him the chance to make mistakes and learn from them. That's when I found out I was pregnant. I sent the report to Ji Yang, and it took him a long time to call back. His voice sounded distorted over the phone, laced with irritation as he said, Jiang Zhao, I'm not ready for a child. I'm not done having fun yet. How could I possibly be a father? Let's not keep this child. Half an hour later, a classmate interning at the hospital sent me a photo. It was Ji Yang and Jiyu Zijing. He was carefully supporting her, his movements as gentle as if he were handling a one-of-a-kind treasure. The classmate sent a voice message. Why is Ji Yang at the OBGYN with someone else? This woman is pregnant. Who is she? That's when I finally understood. It wasn't that Ji Yang didn't want children, he just didn't want children with me. From beginning to end, he never forgot Jiyu Zijing. The girl who gave him his first taste of love remains the unforgettable, ethereal light in his heart. Now that she's back, the mere stand-in, have to step aside. Even my child and I have been cast aside like trash. After that, I broke up with Ji Yang. For some reason, Ji Yang kept dragging his feet and refused to accept it. Left with no choice, I had to ask an old classmate to help me stage a little drama with a new flame to make him let go. I'll never forget the look in Ji Yang's eyes that day. He stared at me with such intensity. It felt like he was trying to burn me alive with his gaze. Jiang Zhao, you and your little fling better stay the hell away from me, or I can't guarantee what will happen to him. He finally sneered. You're nothing more than a dog to me. Remember this. I, Ji Yang, am the one who dumped you. You didn't fucking leave me. After that day, I never saw Ji Yang again. He soon went abroad to pursue his career, and I heard he even got engaged to Ji Yuzijing. It was a perfect match between two families of equal social standing. Both the Ji Yu and Ji families were overjoyed, and the engagement banquet made a grand splash, landing on the front page of the news. But now, after the car accident, his memories have reverted to those from 3 years ago. In the silent living room, the sound of traffic was muffled by the night. Sealed outside the window, a thick, soundless silence settled in. I picked up my daughter and said softly under Ji Yang's stunned gaze, Ji Yang, it's been 3 years since we broke up. I've already gotten married and had a child. 3. It took Ji Yang a long moment to react. His mouth fell open, a look of ludicrous disbelief spreading across his face as he tried to reach out and grab me. Impossible. I couldn't tell if he was trying to convince me or himself. It's impossible. Jiang Zhao, how could you possibly marry someone else? Didn't you like me a lot? His gaze shifted to the child in my arms, and he forced a faint smile. I've lost my memory. So this child is mine, right? Did you go behind my back and give birth to that child from back then? I took a step back. Ji Yang, stop this madness. This is not your child. The light in Ji Yang's eyes was slowly snuffed out by shadow. Not mine. Then whose child is this? He grabbed my hand and demanded harshly, Jiang Zhao, who the hell did you have this child with? Follow me. Just as I was at a loss for what to do, the door swung open and Meng Ziyan walked in, taking our daughter into his arms. The night was deep and heavy with dew. His black suit was damp from the moisture, yet his formidable presence prevented him from looking the least bit disheveled. Instead, he gazed at Ji Yang before him with keen interest. We have a guest at home. Why didn't you tell me in advance? He handed me what he was holding, completely ignoring Ji Yang's darkening expression as if no one else was there. It's from that cake shop you like. I got there late and almost missed out. Ji Yang looked him up and down, his fists clenching. Jiang Zhao, since when have you been hanging out with him? Before I could even speak, Meng Ziyan laughed, but it was a cold, mocking laugh devoid of any warmth. When, to be precise. We got together 3 years ago, had a child 2 years ago, and got married this year. So, Mr. G, exactly which one are you asking about? In the silent living room, the two tall men stood in a tense standoff. Fury churned in Ji Yang's eyes, while Meng Ziyan looked at him as one would a child, his very posture exuding the condescending air of a victor. I sighed, stepped forward to pull Meng Ziyan aside, and said to Ji Yang, he's right, Ji Yang, we broke up a long time ago. We've both moved on with our lives. You're about to marry Ji Yuzijing, and I'm already married with a child. You just can't remember because of the amnesia from the accident. We've long since. I paused, then continued. We stopped bothering each other a long time ago. Bothering. Ji Yang took a step back, his expression suddenly turning somewhat ridiculous. Jiang Zhao, we lived together for over a decade, and now you're telling me I'm a bother. I lowered my gaze and said softly, you're grown up now, we should both have our own lives. Meng Ziyan moved closer to me, holding the child in his left arm and taking my hand in his right, a silent declaration of possession. The three of us stood together, facing Ji Yang. Though the physical distance was small, an invisible, unbridgeable chasm seemed to have opened between us. After a long silence, Ji Yang finally laughed, his eyes locked onto me as he sneered coldly. Fine, Jiang Zhao, you got me there. 04. After Ji Yang left, Meng Ziyan didn't say anything, but I could clearly tell his petty jealousy was acting up again. Even when his daughter asked for a kiss, he gave her a half-hearted peck. He was radiating an aura that screamed, I'm angry. You'd better explain yourself. With a sigh, I walked over and hugged him. I didn't know he was coming. He just showed up at the door today, and has lost his memory again. I've already made everything clear to him. I won't do it again. Okay. Meng Ziyan yanked off his tie and threw it on the floor, without a word. He slumped onto the sofa, his long legs splayed out. A long while later, having presumably composed himself, he finally spoke. The moment I heard he'd flown back right after losing his memory, I had a bad feeling. I rushed over as fast as I could, but he still managed to get inside. He looked utterly enraged. For someone who usually only made snide remarks and never swore, he actually let out a curse. Damn it. Why didn't that hit just finish him off? I almost laughed at his outburst. Meng Ziyan always appeared calm and composed. As if the sky itself could fall and it wouldn't be worth him even lifting an eyelid to look. He gets so petty whenever it comes to anything related to Ji Yang. Back when Ji Yang went abroad, he practically wanted to throw a farewell party to see him off for good. Now, right after we got our marriage certificate, Ji Yang shows up again to stir up trouble. Of course he's furious. I spent ages coaxing him, swearing up and down that I'd have nothing more to do with Ji Yang before he finally calmed down a bit. But then, after our daughter fell asleep, he really put me through the ringer. The next morning, I dragged my aching body out of bed, cursing Meng Ziyan under my breath. The guy's pushing 30. How is he getting even crazier? Don't they say men start going downhill after 25? Just as I was thinking that, my phone suddenly rang. It was an unknown number. Thinking it was a delivery person, I answered and was about to speak when a familiar woman's voice came through the line. Even through the phone, the contempt in Ji Zijing's voice was unmistakable. Jiang Zhao, let's meet up. I frowned. What is it? I think we need to talk about this matter with Ji Yang. Don't you agree? I rubbed my temples in frustration and said bluntly, I have nothing to do with Ji Yang. I wasn't the one who crashed his car and gave him a head injury. Whatever it is, sort it out between yourselves. It's none of my business. With that, I hung up the phone. To be honest, I never really liked Ji Zijing. It's not because Ji Yang left me for her, and it's not her fault that he fell for her. I just can't stand the way she always looks down on me, as if I'm some filthy thing she both despises and is disgusted by. We only got together after she and Ji Yang broke up. By all rights, she's the one who came between us later, yet she always acts like she's the rightful one. I've finally managed to leave the past behind and start a new life. I don't want to have anything more to do with either Ji Yang or Ji Zijing. I thought I had made myself perfectly clear to both of them. So, imagine my surprise when I went to deliver a gift at Mrs. Ji's birthday party and saw Ji Zijing sitting right beside her. She stared straight at me. It was obvious she was there for me. I pretended not to notice. Since you have company, I won't intrude. I made to leave. But Ji Zijing called out to stop me. Stop right there, Jiang Zhao. Ji Yang went to see you, didn't he? I turned around. What do you want to say? Ji Zijing lifted her chin slightly. Jiang Zhao, I never thought you'd be so persistent. I know you've liked Ji Yang for a long time. You took advantage of our breakup to get into his bed and force him to be with you. But now we're engaged, and you're married. Can't you have any shame? I was so angry I almost laughed. Ji Zijing has always been like this, twisting the truth to suit her own narrative. In her eyes, Ji Yang is completely devoted to her, so if he's ever involved with me, she's convinced I must have seduced him. I sneered, if you're suffering from delusions, Miss Ji Yu, I can't help you. I suggest you get your head examined at a hospital, and soon. Delusions. She shot to her feet, glaring at me with utter contempt. Jiang Zhao, we're engaged, we're getting married, then tell me. If you didn't seduce him, why would he come back to you? Mr. and Mrs. Ji, standing to the side, remained silent, seemingly tacitly agreeing with Ji Zijing's words. After a moment of careful consideration, Mrs. Ji spoke up. Jiang Zhao, Ji Yang is young and doesn't know any better. But you're the older one, you should be guiding him, not stirring up trouble for the whole family just for your own selfish gain. Don't you agree? I couldn't help but sneer. Oh yes, 26, so young and foolish. I have a husband and a daughter. What makes you think I want him? I didn't cause his car accident, and I'm not responsible for his amnesia. Instead of watching over him, you come to me. What's the matter? You know he won't listen to you, so you only dare to pick on an easy target like me. How dare you speak to me like that? You truly are an ungrateful wretch. Uncle Ji glared at me icily. I couldn't be bothered to say another word and turned to leave, but Ji Zijing called out to stop me. She clenched her fists tightly and declared in a loud voice, Jiang Zhao, do you know why Ji Yang got into that car accident? He only went out drinking and street racing because he was upset after hearing you got married. Isn't all of this because of you? I didn't even turn my head. It has nothing to do with me. I didn't force him to do it. My hand froze on the doorknob. Ji Yang was standing behind the door, and I had no idea how long he'd been there. He was still holding the gift for his mother. His knuckles clenched so tightly they were white. He looked at me for a moment, then suddenly smiled. "Jiang Zhao," he said, "you're right, it has nothing to do with you." His face dark with anger, he strode into the room and confronted Ji Yuzijing. "Who told you to come here?" Ji Yuzijing's eyes instantly welled up with tears, but she choked them back, refusing to let them fall. "Ji Yang, we're engaged. What do you mean by coming back to see her now?" Ji Yang remained silent for a moment before speaking. "Let's call off the engagement." The room was instantly plunged into a suffocating silence. A few seconds later, Ji Yuzijing finally couldn't hold back, her voice trembling with tears. "Ji Yang, have you lost your mind? Why are you calling off the engagement? Is it because of Jiang Zhao?" Ji Yang replied impatiently, "Because I don't want to marry you anymore. Didn't I tell you not to come looking for her?" "Then what am I supposed to do?" Ji Yuzijing cried out, her voice raw with emotion. "My fiancé flew halfway across the globe to see another woman. Ji Yang, what on earth am I supposed to do?" Ji Yang ignored her. He casually tossed the gift in front of his mother, his expression detached. "Stay out of my business. Jiang Zhao is right. This has nothing to do with her," he said with a self-deprecating smile. "I was the one who threw myself at him. I deserve this, Mrs. Ji's lips trembled with rage as she pointed a finger at me. "I should have just let you die in that orphanage. Out of the goodness of my heart, I brought you home, and look how you've repaid us by turning this house upside down. It was her. She took advantage of your youth and innocence to seduce you. How else could you have ended up like this?" I closed my eyes for a moment. The Ji family took me in, and I am truly grateful in my heart, but it's been this way my whole life. Whenever Ji Yang had any problem, Mr. and Mrs. Ji would look for the cause in me. They consider themselves high society. They don't resort to the crude methods of hitting or scolding. The upper class has an even more cutting way of grinding a person down. They know all too well how to make someone feel utterly humiliated. When I was a child, they would make me kneel in front of guests. When asked, they would smile and reply, "We took this child in with the best of intentions." But it turns out they're far too cunning. We simply don't know what else to do. There's no way Ji Yang is the problem. If there is a problem, it's definitely because of me. I suddenly felt quite tired. Just as I was about to leave, the doorbell rang. The housekeeper went to answer it, and who should appear at the door but Meng Ziyan, dressed in a suit. My eyes widened. "You," he walked over and set down what he was holding. "It's your mother's birthday. How could I, as a junior, not come to pay my respects?" He glanced around, a smile on his face, yet an icy aura radiated from his entire being. "Have I come at a bad time, Mr. Ji?" quickly stood up. "Your timing is perfect, just perfect. Please, have a seat." The Meng family's status far surpassed that of the Ji family. In front of Meng Ziyan, Mr. and Mrs. Ji dared not put on airs. Uncle Ji's expression instantly brightened into a wide smile. "You shouldn't have brought anything just to visit. Ziyan was a great help with that suburban land deal. Any idea when we can get the contract signed?" Meng Ziyan gave a faint smile. He gave his tie a sharp tug, his eyes glinting with a cold, sharp light. "I don't think that plot of land is suitable for the Ji family. Our collaboration will be on hold until you learn to respect my wife." Old Mr. Ji was visibly shocked, and Mrs. Ji quickly rose to her feet with an apologetic smile. Now, let's not say such things. We're all family with Zhao Zhao. A little friction now and then is perfectly normal. Mr. Meng, you mustn't let this come between our two families." Meng Ziyan didn't sit in the chair the housekeeper brought over, but remained standing there, looking down on everyone. "Jiang Zhao is my wife. If you don't respect her, you don't respect me. It seems the Ji family isn't very welcoming. In that case, we'll take our leave." With that, he took my hand and we left. The expressions of Uncle and Aunt Ji behind him instantly turned ugly, their mouths agape in panicked speechlessness. Just then, Ji Yang, who was standing behind him, suddenly spoke up. His voice was low and dark, thick with restrained emotion. "Meng Ziyan, do you really think she loves you? Let me make this clear. She loved me for 10 years. You're nothing but a replacement for me." Meng Ziyan turned his head away, a contemptuous smile playing on his lips. "If that's what you need to tell yourself to feel better, be my guest." 05. "What are you doing here, sitting in the car?" I stole a cautious glance at Meng Ziyan's expression. worried he might be angry about what Ji Yang had just said. Meng Ziyan's face was expressionless. Why didn't you tell me you were being bullied? I lowered my head. I didn't know Ji Yuzijing was back. I was just going to drop the stuff off and leave. Meng Ziyan looked down at the steering wheel. His expression dark and unreadable. That old bastard Ji Fangju, taking my money and still daring to bully my wife. He scoffed. There's not a single decent person in the Ji family. You're married to me now, and Ji Yang is still trying to stir up trouble for you right in front of me. It's like he can't stand to see you happy. I let out a sigh. I already knew everything Meng Ziyan was saying. Ji Yang has always been this selfish. Only concerned with venting his own emotions and never considering anyone else's situation. When I loved him, I could forgive anything. There's no love left now, only a heart full of disgust. Seeing my silence, Meng Ziyan took my hand. His hands, calloused from years of working out, were rough yet warm. Our wedding bands pressed together as he said in a low voice, "From now on, you tell me if something's wrong. You're not allowed to suffer in silence, honestly. What happened today wasn't a big deal for me. I've been through much worse before, so I'm used to it by now." But when he said that, a wave of all that pent-up hurt suddenly washed over me, and my vision blurred with tears. After a long moment, I squeezed his hand back. All right, Ji Yang seems to have settled down. He hasn't contacted me for days. He hasn't returned to the country either, leaving his marriage arrangement with Ji Yuzijing in a stalemate. A few days later, just as I was about to put the whole thing behind me, Ji Yang suddenly called. In the dead of night, his voice, thick with drunkenness, came through the line, demanding, "Jiang Zhao, I'm drunk, come pick me up." I felt a headache coming on. Back when Ji Yang and I were still together, he'd often go out with his pack of good-for-nothing friends. Every time, he'd get completely wasted and then call me to come pick him up. He never cared what I was doing, what the weather was like, or how late it was. He just knew that one call from him and I'd come running. I still remember when Ji Yuzijing had just returned to the country. Ji Yang got drunk like that again one time and called for me to fetch him. When I got to the bar, in the dim, hazy light, I saw him with Ji Yuzijing on his lap, kissing her. It was a long moment before he noticed me, a silvery strand stretching between his parted lips. Ji Yuzijing shot me a contemptuous smirk, while everyone around watched my humiliation with amusement. Ji Yang showed no trace of panic at being caught. Instead, he frowned and said to me, "What took you so long?" I closed my eyes, trying hard not to dwell on those humiliating memories. Now, looking back from outside this relationship, I realize I didn't love Ji Yang as much as I thought I did. I was simply taught from a very young age to give way to Ji Yang, to fulfill his every need, and to always put him first. I grew accustomed to accommodating him and making allowances for him. It wasn't until I met Meng Ziyan that he gradually taught me a truth. To live, first and foremost, is for oneself. "Mommy, is that Daddy?" my daughter asked groggily, lifting her head. I put down the storybook in my hand and gently stroked her little head. "No, it's nobody important," I said to Ji Yang. "You call Ji Yuzijing, I'm busy." A hint of hurt crept into Ji Yang's voice. "Don't you like me anymore, Jiang Zhao? You always used to come pick me up. I feel awful. Can you please come?" "I don't want Ji Yuzijing," I said calmly. "That has nothing to do with me. Don't look for me again." With that, he hung up. My phone soon started ringing incessantly, and I had no choice but to block Ji Yang. To my surprise, the phone rang again just 2 minutes later. I thought Ji Yang had called from a new number and was about to hang up when I realized it was Meng Ziyan calling. He'd actually had a rare drink. His voice was a bit unsteady, yet tinged with laughter, as if he were in a very good mood. "Darling," his voice was soft yet tender. "I'm drunk. Come pick me up," I asked, puzzled. "What about the driver?" "The driver had something to take care of and went home. I feel awful." With a sigh, I kissed my daughter on the head, got up, got dressed, and went to pick up Meng Ziyan. But when I arrived at the location he'd sent, I was shocked to push open the door and see Ji Yang, Meng Ziyan, and Ji Yang, both towering over 6 feet tall, were locked in a standoff at opposite ends of the table. While everyone else sat by, not daring to make a sound, the situation dawned on me in an instant, and I walked over, both exasperated and amused, to pull Meng Ziyan away. "How old are you?" Meng Ziyan, who's usually so composed and self-possessed, actually learned how to act all clingy and spoiled when he got drunk. Leaning on me to stand up, he flashed a triumphant smile at Ji Yang and boasted, "Sorry, President Ji, my wife is here to pick me up, so I'll be taking my leave now. Ji Yang's face darkened, his gaze fixed intently on me. Jiang Zhao, his voice trembled slightly, as if he couldn't quite believe it. You came to pick him up, but not me. I was supporting Meng Ziyan. But he still refused to let up, eager to kick a man when he was down. I'm her husband, and you are. Ji Yang fell silent, a glacial chill slowly forming in his eyes. Just as I was about to leave, Ji Yang called out to me. I wasn't sure if I was imagining it, but his voice seemed to carry a faint tremor. Jiang Zhao, he said, you're really going to choose him? Without turning around, I said softly, I made my choice a long time ago. I finally managed to shove Meng Ziyan into the car and snapped irritably. Are you out of your mind? Just because he's not all there, you have to act up too. Is stupidity contagious? Meng Ziyan, however, seemed to be in high spirits, a rare display of open emotion for him as he leaned back in the leather seat with a smirk. I ran into him at dinner today. He insisted you'd come to pick him up, as if that wasn't enough. He added, what an idiot. He doesn't know his own limits. I've come to realize that whenever Ji Yang is involved, Meng Ziyan's so-called good manners go right out the window. Someone so refined and delicate since childhood was now cursing with such vulgarity. Jiang Zhao, he said, his eyes closed as our fingers intertwined. Do you love me? After a long silence, seeing I hadn't answered, he opened his eyes. A flicker of barely perceptible panic flashing within them. After Meng Ziyan got married, he rarely brought up my past relationships. I used to think he didn't care, but now I realize he cares a great deal. Otherwise, he wouldn't be playing this childish game of one-upmanship with Ji Yang, all for the sake of pride. He's always been so stoic, his emotions never showing on his face. When has he ever been this flustered? I leaned over to fasten his seatbelt and left a kiss on the corner of his lips. I love you, I said helplessly. Only you. 6. Ji Yang is going abroad. He got in touch with me. Let's meet up. Jiang Zhao. After this, I'm going back to Los Angeles and won't bother you all again. I thought it over and decided to go meet him. Ji Yang is the type who never gives up until he gets what he wants. It's better to be clear with him, so he can finally let go. We met at a restaurant we used to frequent. For once, he was a perfect gentleman and pulled out the chair for me. I remember you really liked this place. I nodded. I used to, but I stopped coming after I found out you brought Jiyu Zijing here behind my back. Ji Yang's expression froze. Sorry. I waved my hand dismissively with a smile. It's fine. I stopped caring a long time ago. Ji Yang settled into the seat across from me. After a moment of silence, he finally asked his first question. Jiang Zhao, is Nan Nan really my daughter? I looked up to see a desperate glimmer of hope in Ji Yang's eyes. His fingers bone-white from gripping too hard. I took a sip of coffee, my reply leaving no room for doubt. No, I have no interest in playing some cliché runaway pregnancy game. Nan Nan is Meng Ziyan's daughter. And what about that child from back then? His face grew paler by the second. I had an abortion, I said, lowering my head. The day I found out Jiyu Zijin was pregnant, I went and terminated the pregnancy. Don't tell me you're trying to say the child isn't yours. Ji Yang remained silent. We all know that Jiyu Zijin's child is his. His infidelity is an undeniable fact. There was never any misunderstanding between us. Not from the very beginning. Is he good to you? Ji Yang asked abruptly. Out of the blue, a smile touched my lips. He's been wonderful to me. I couldn't help but add, truly wonderful. At first, I only sought him out to put on a show and break up with you. But as I got to know him, I realized he's genuinely a good man. He's very considerate. The pregnancy was unplanned, but Meng Ziyan was so happy about it that we decided to keep the baby. We actually got our marriage license a long time ago. I just didn't want a wedding ceremony for those first couple of years, which is why we postponed it for so long. Ji Yang's face was expressionless, his eyes seeming to brew a storm. Jiang Zhao, I can give you everything he can. Please, come back to me. I shot back. And what about Jiyu Zijing? You betrayed me for her back then. Are you going to betray her now? He closed his eyes for a moment, as if suppressing some emotion. I stopped liking her a long time ago. I just never got over the fact that she dumped me. I regretted it the moment we broke up. It's just a shame you were already with Meng Ziyan by then. Jiang Zhao, I'll treat you right from now on. We've lived together for over a decade. No one knows you better than I do, and no one knows me better than you, he said through gritted teeth. We're the ones who belong together. Meng Ziyin is nothing but a lowlife who took advantage of the situation. I shook my head. It's too late. Ji Yang, I gave you so many chances. In all those days when Ji Yuzijing was back, if you had just looked back even once, I wouldn't have given up on you. No one will wait for you forever. I've moved on. You should stop obsessing over it. After a long while, he gave a strange, quiet laugh. Oh, really? And what if I choose to obsess over it anyway? A sudden wave of dizziness washed over me, and I couldn't help but look towards Ji Yang. In my blurring vision, his figure grew increasingly indistinct. In the final second before I lost consciousness, I heard him speak. Jiang Zhao, you've already abandoned me once. I won't let you leave me behind again. 07. When I came to again, I realized I was in a car. The McLaren sped along the rugged mountain road. A mix of shock and fury surged through me. Ji Yang, did you drug me? Where are you taking me? Ji Yang kept his eyes on the road ahead and said flatly, go to the hillside villa I gave you. Didn't you say you loved the view from up there? A chill ran through me. That was 3 years ago now. Ji Yang had given me a villa. In the heat of our passion, we would sometimes stay there for a few days, holding each other by the window as we looked out over the city lights. But now, he's clearly trying to imprison me. I gritted my teeth hard. Ji Yang, have you lost your mind? I'm already married. What on earth are you trying to do? Ji Yang didn't answer, but instead asked a question in return. You like children, don't you? We can have several in the future. How many would you like? I watched the scenery whizzing past the window, feeling a sense of despair in my heart. I know Ji Yang all too well. His feelings for me are less about unrequited love and more about sheer frustration. He's been the golden child since he was young, never failing to get anything he wanted. He couldn't stand that after all the time I spent with him, I suddenly had someone new. He couldn't stand being dumped by me. Just like what happened with Ji Yuzijing back then, it's just that now, without his memories, he's become even more obsessive, and I ended up as the unlucky one. Just as I was at a loss for what to do, I caught a glimpse in my peripheral vision of a familiar Maybach pulling up behind us on the mountain road. It was Meng Ziyin. I was overjoyed. Ji Yang had also spotted the car and, with a cold snort, stomped on the accelerator. The sports car let out a terrifying roar and tore off down the mountain road. I was scared out of my wits in an instant and roared, Ji Yang, you're insane. Put me down. Meng Ziyin quickly caught up. The two cars raced side by side on the narrow mountain road, and Meng Ziyin slammed the accelerator, ramming his McLaren into the other car. Ji Yang was not to be outdone, flooring the gas in an attempt to shove Meng Ziyin off the cliff. My heart was in my throat, pressed against the glass. I shouted, not caring if Meng Ziyin could hear me. Ziyin. After driving like that for a few minutes, Meng Ziyin suddenly slammed on the accelerator. The Maybach's tires screeched as it swerved to block Ji Yang's path. Ji Yang stomped on the brakes, forced to a stop. Seizing the chance, I flung the car door open and practically tumbled out, stumbling into the arms of Meng Ziyin as he got out of his car. How did you know I was here? I asked, my voice choked with tears. Meng Ziyin stared coldly at Ji Yang in the car. I installed a tracker on your phone. My whole body was trembling violently as I clung to Meng Ziyin, refusing to let go. I never could have imagined Ji Yang would go this crazy after losing his memory. Ji Yang didn't get out of the car. He just sat there, locking eyes with Meng Ziyin. A few seconds later, the McLaren's engine roared to life again. Ji Yang drove the car straight at us, his face contorted with madness. If you won't be with me, then we'll die together, at the last possible second. Meng Ziyin mustered all his strength and lunged outward, pulling me with him. We tumbled over and over, finally skidding to a stop right at the cliff's edge. Amidst the swirling dust, Ji Yang's car suddenly swerved violently, grazing past us before plummeting straight down the cliff. Boom! The flames erupted with a roar. A few days later, I received the news. Ji Yang had unbelievably good luck. The car's steel frame and airbags protected his most vital areas. He only ended up with 3 broken ribs, a shattered leg, and a head injury. That broken rib came within 0.2 centimeters of piercing his heart. He spent a few days in the ICU and miraculously regained consciousness. However, Ji Yang's actions constituted attempted murder. Frankly, if his target had only been me, the Ji family would have found a way to get him off the hook. The problem was, he still wanted to kill Meng Ziyin. The Meng family isn't one to be trifled with. And the police were at his door that very day. Once he recovers, he'll likely be spending a few years in prison. The day Ji Yang regained consciousness, the police contacted me. They said he refused to talk and would only confess if he saw me. I had no choice but to go see him. It had only been a few days. But he was a shadow of his former self. I almost didn't recognize him. The once vibrant young man now lay swathed in bandages on the hospital bed, his eyes filled with a heavy, lifeless gloom. All I felt for this man who had tried to kill me was disgust and hatred. Standing coldly by his bedside, I said, "Do you have anything left to say?" Ji Yang said nothing. After a long pause, his eyes slowly turned to meet mine. "Jiang Zhao, I've regained my memories." I let out a cold laugh. "Oh, and do you regret it now?" "I regret it." Ji Yang's voice was hoarse and grating, likely injured as well. The corners of his eyes gradually reddened, and a single tear fell. "I regret breaking up with you back then, Jiang Zhao. If I hadn't been so resentful when Jiyu Zijing came back, would everything be different now?" Looking at him, I was suddenly reminded of Ji Yang as a little boy. He was a spoiled and willful child, a real handful whenever he threw a tantrum. Only when he was truly wronged would he come to me, eyes brimming with tears. He'd throw himself into my arms without a word and just cry, looking utterly pitiful. A sudden pang of sorrow welled up in my chest. We used to be so close. How did we ever get to this point? "Sis," after all these years, he finally called me sis again. His voice choked with emotion. He said, "I was wrong. Can you ever forgive me?" I looked at the man I had loved and forgiven for over a decade, and said nothing. After a long while, under his slowly dimming gaze, I picked up my bag and turned to leave. "You've seen what you came to see. If there's anything you need to confess, you'd better do it now. Strive for leniency." 9. 4 months later, Ji Yang's verdict was delivered, attempted murder. Fortunately, he turned the steering wheel at the last moment. His lawyer argued tirelessly that he had a change of heart and didn't truly intend to kill us, which led to a lenient sentence of 5 years in prison. Ji's mother fainted from crying on the spot, while his father's once jet-black hair had turned completely gray. After a tearful breakdown, Jiyu Zijing left the country. In the time since, Ji Yang had made her the laughingstock of their social circle. The partnership with the Ji family was completely ruined, and the Jiyu family was likely in for a rough patch. Half a year later, on Ji Yang's birthday, his mother reached out to me. Her voice still carried a trace of resentment, yet she was forced to plead. "That boy, Ji Yang, he wants to see you. Could you possibly go and visit him?" Meng Ziyan pretended to read the newspaper, all the while secretly pricking up his ears. I whispered, "No, I don't think so," and with that, I hung up the phone. After all these years living with Ji Yang, I've seen it all, the good and the bad, the joy and the pain, the calm and the hysterics. At this point, there's really nothing left to see. The next day, I received a letter from Ji Yang, sent to me from prison. "Jiang Zhao, it's been a long time. I've been doing a lot of thinking in here. There's so much I wanted to say to you." I wrote letter after letter, but reading them back, they just seemed pathetic. I figured you wouldn't want to read them either, so I tore them all up. Lately, I keep dreaming about the past. I dreamt about that time on my birthday when I broke my father's favorite vase. You were just as scared as I was, but you took the blame for me and got punished. I also dreamt about that kiss we shared. Looking back, that kiss was less about making Jiyu Zijing jealous and more something I'd been mustering the courage to do for a long time. It took me a while to realize it, but I'd already fallen for you back then. I was just too foolish to see it. The truth is, I didn't like Jiyu Zijing as much as I thought I did. I just thought she was beautiful, accomplished, and someone who'd make me look good in public. It seemed like if I were to get a girlfriend, I should find someone like her who was my equal. My affection for her was like my fondness for a watch or a car, only the best was worthy of me. When she came back later, I only stayed with her out of the resentment of having been dumped, though at the time, I mistook that for love. When did I realize I loved you? Probably the first time I went home after we broke up. The house was empty, dark, and cold. In that moment, panic suddenly seized me, and I called out your name at the top of my lungs. You should have been there. You always were. No matter when I called, you would always appear, but that time, you didn't. For the first time, I felt a flicker of fear. I feel like I've lost something very important, but I still refused to back down. For over a decade, it was always you who indulged me. You never got angry with me, no matter what I did. It seemed you could always forgive me. I thought it was you who couldn't live without me, that you'd come back eventually. In a fit of pique, I went abroad with Gu Zijing. I wanted you to taste the same fear I had felt, thinking that would make you come back to me, but I never imagined that this time, you would never come looking for me again. I lied to myself, convinced you wouldn't leave me. We'd been together for so long, our entire lives were intertwined, there was no way you could break free. That was until I found out you had a new boyfriend, you had a child together, and then you got married. I finally broke down. It was only then that I realized it wasn't you who couldn't live without me. From beginning to end, the one who couldn't let go was always me. I think I don't want my pride anymore, I don't want my dignity, I just want you to come back. I don't know how much I drank that night, I know I was driving recklessly fast, with the wind and rain lashing my face, I couldn't even feel my own tears. The moment of the crash didn't actually hurt. I've heard that before you die, your life flashes before your eyes. I really did see my life flash before my eyes. It's just that every single moment was about you. The look of sheer panic on your face the first time you came to my house, the look on your face, terrified, holding back tears, yet not daring to get angry when I put that snake in your bed, the look of surprise on your face during our first kiss, the look of hurt on your face when you saw me with Gu Zijing. It's strange, I thought I had forgotten it all. Yet the memory comes back so vividly, as if countless versions of you appeared before me, accompanying me through this entire lifetime, and then I woke up. When I wake up, I always feel like you should be there beside me, but when I reach out, the space next to me is empty. They all say I've lost my memory, I don't know, I can't remember, I just know I desperately want to see you, and I'm going to see you very soon. I took a flight back home overnight. I want to tell you I love you. I want to tell you that we should be together properly, and I promise I'll never hurt you again. But the moment I saw you, I was at a complete loss for words. You look like you're doing well, you told me you're married now, and you have a child. You said the child isn't mine, but another man's. It suddenly struck me as utterly absurd. After all these years together, our lives are so deeply intertwined, yet you now tell me you're leaving for good to become part of someone else's life. In that moment, I was filled with rage and a crushing sadness at the realization that I was powerless to stop you from leaving. For a fleeting second, I even wished you were dead. If you were dead, you wouldn't be saying things like this. You wouldn't leave me either. We could die together and be together for all eternity. But when that moment truly came, I found I couldn't go through with it. Before I lost consciousness, I had only one thought: it's ridiculous, isn't it? But it just hit me, if the choice was you dying, I'd rather you live a good, long life by someone else's side. At least that way, I could still see you in this world, even if the one standing beside you is no longer me. Jiang Zhao, you ask me if I have any regrets. You have no idea how I've been consumed by regret, night after night, with a heart full of anguish. Sis, I'll work hard on reforming myself and strive to get out early. If he doesn't treat you well, then wait for me to get out. If he treats you well, then forget about me. Please, for the rest of your life, never think of me again, this bastard who only ever caused you pain. I wish you happiness, even if that happiness doesn't come from me. Ji Yang, after reading the letter, my eyes suddenly felt a sting, a bitter tightness that was hard to put into words. Meng Ziyan, holding our daughter, called to me from outside. Sweetie says she wants to go to Disneyland. I happen to be free this week, shall we go tomorrow? When I didn't answer, he walked over and, noticing the letter in my hand, asked casually, "What is it?" I forced a faint, indifferent smile, tore the letter to pieces, and tossed it into the trash. "It's nothing, just some trash." "All right then. Let's go to Disneyland tomorrow." A belated affection is worth less than dirt. The wounds Ji Yang left me are far too deep to be healed by a few words. He was right about only one thing: I will live a happy life, and that happiness will have nothing to do with him, ever. Story 2. On the 10th year of fulfilling the marriage contract on behalf of my runaway sister, just because I sat on the chair she liked the most, I was pushed off a 3-story building by the child she left behind. My spine was broken, and covered in blood. I begged him to call for help, but he sneered at me just like his father did. "You don't even deserve to use my mother's things. I'm telling you, you can never replace her. You still want someone to save you. I want to watch you become disabled and let my father kick you out of the house." I looked at this child, whom I had taken care of since he was in swaddling clothes, in disbelief. My heart ached as if being tortured. After being rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment, I dialed a phone number abroad. Professor, I'm willing to go abroad. Hello, everyone. Welcome to my channel. Subscribe us to read wonderful novels every day. Now the story begins. Just as I finished the call, Gerald, my parents, and Jeffrey, who had a disgruntled expression, walked in. Jeffrey stared at me viciously. Why should I apologize to this bitch? She sat on my mother's chair first. I just called out to her. And she was so scared that she fell off the building. There wasn't even any blood on her. I thought she was just acting again to deceive me. The more he spoke, the more unpleasant his words became. But none of the people beside him stopped him. They just looked at me coldly, their faces full of reproach. But I didn't defend myself as I used to. I just stared blankly out the window. Gerald, however, rebuked me. Helen, the child is talking to you, but you don't even look at him. Is this how you act as a mother? I sneered. Which child, upon seeing his own mother injured, doesn't even show a bit of concern and keeps swearing instead? Gerald's dissatisfaction grew deeper. That's because you haven't been good enough to Jeffrey. You often pretend to be pitiful to deceive him, not good enough. Jeffrey had congenital deficiencies and often got sick. It was me who took care of him day and night. I learned acupuncture, massage, and how to cook nourishing soups and medicinal diets, and I became proficient in all of them. My slender fingers that used to play the piano became rough and swollen. When Jeffrey said he felt insecure, I stayed by his side without sleeping for 3 days and 3 nights. Unfortunately, Gerald couldn't see all these efforts, nor could Jeffrey. Gerald was still lecturing me. Helen, when you married into her family, I only had one request for you, which was to take good care of Jeffrey. Is that so difficult? If you can't do it well, let's get divorced. If you want a divorce, then let's get one. I don't want to be my wife anymore. Gerald stared at me in surprise, as if he didn't expect me to say such a thing. Well, after all, this marriage was something her family had begged for. When Ashley fulfilled the marriage contract and married Gerald, her first love returned from abroad. Ashley disappeared without a trace after giving birth to the child. Her family was furious, and my parents tricked me, who was still studying for a doctorate abroad. Back home, they drugged me and sent me to Gerald's bed. The incident caused a big commotion, and with Jeffrey still a baby in need of care, Gerald had no choice but to marry me. However, we also made an agreement with a time limit of only 10 years. Once Jeffrey grew up, he would divorce me, but every time we quarreled, he would threaten me with divorce. Since that was the case, then let's get divorced. My parents, however, were the first to be outraged. Helen, what are you talking nonsense? How can you get a divorce? If you leave, who will take care of Jeffrey? Their extremely disappointed faces were the same as when I refused to give up the marriage for Ashley. When the marriage contract was made with her family, my mother was pregnant with me, so the person for the marriage alliance was naturally me. But later, Ashley was heartbroken by her first love and married out of spite. With just a word from my parents, I was asked to give up the marriage. Seeing that I didn't speak, my parents quickly added, "All right, this time you're also injured. We won't make you apologize to Jeffrey either. If you soften your attitude, we'll give you the key to the house, and you can come back whenever you want." After I married into the Gerald family and became the stepmother, they took away the key to my home. They also informed the security guards and the driver that I wasn't allowed to enter the house unless I was with Jeffrey. Helen, only when you have no home and no way out will you treat the Gerald family as your own home and Jeffrey as your own child. Later, even when I was driven out of the house by Gerald, who took his anger out on me, I begged at the door all night in the cold and rainy night, but they didn't let me in. Seeing that I didn't speak, Gerald thought I was moved. He said condescendingly, "All right, it's not a serious injury. Don't be angry anymore. When you recover, I'll take you to take wedding photos." Over the years, I didn't even have a single group photo with him. Even if we were accidentally photographed together at a gathering, he would angrily scold me. But now, I don't want either family affection or love, I said indifferently. "No need, I'll be leaving next month." The ward instantly fell into a deathly silence, but soon, the anger of my parents and Gerald swept over. "Listen to what you're saying. What kind of words are these? Jeffrey is going to participate in the Olympiad in mathematics in a month. If you leave, who will take care of him and teach him? How can you, as a mother, be so heartless and abandon the child just to get back at us?" A mother. I looked at Jeffrey over there, and his eyes were full of resentment. For 10 years, He only ever called me Aunt Helen, in the past 2 years. He didn't even have a name for me and just called me a bitch. When Jeffrey first started learning to talk, he did call me Mom, but when Gerald heard it, he flew into a rage instantly. He not only snatched the child away but also drove me out of the house. Don't waste your efforts. Jeffrey will only have one mother in his life. Even though Ashley abandoned him, she was still the only one in Gerald's heart. Later, whenever Jeffrey called me Mom, he would be lectured by Gerald, for 10 years. I lived like a nanny, but soon, everything would come to an end. I came back to my senses and looked at my parents and Gerald. You said that I only deserved to occupy this position for 10 years. Now that the time is up, it's time for me to leave. My parents looked at me with a look of hating iron for not becoming steel. No one is driving you away. Why are you bringing this up? As always, they were only worried that the in-law relationship with the Gerald family would be severed and their business would suffer losses. Gerald, on the other hand, didn't look as relieved as I had expected. He frowned. What kind of reason is that? If you begged me a little, would I really drive you away? Alright, if you're worried about what others will say, I'll just post something on Moments, saying that you'll be my wife from now on. Although he agreed to let me in the house at the beginning, Gerald didn't even hold a wedding for me. When his friends or business partners came to the house, he would just casually introduce me as someone who warms the bed and takes care of the child. Everyone knew that I was just a canary who failed to climb into his bed. I had a good life for 10 years by relying on him, and once the time limit was up, I would be kicked out of the house. But what I cared about wasn't a title. I replied indifferently. The doctor said that I might be disabled this time. A woman with a limp doesn't deserve to be my wife, nor does she deserve to raise the next heir of his family. Gerald heaved a sigh of relief. Why are you worried about these things? With me around, who would dare to gossip about you? Besides, with the financial resources of the Gerald family, can't we hire a good doctor for you? He looked as if he had expected this. Thinking that I was just being angry and trying to be difficult, he continued on his own. Alright, stop talking angry words. You've been a housewife for 10 years. After leaving the Gerald family and her family, how will you live outside? Since you care so much, I'll ask my secretary to buy you a diamond ring later. We'll have a family dinner, and you'll be my wife. As for making it public, don't even think about it. What if Ashley sees it and refuses to come back? After saying that, he left with my parents and Jeffrey. He only left the secretary to deal with the matters regarding my treatment. Oh, and that ring given as charity. The secretary also had a superior attitude. Miss Helen, Mr. Gerald has only approved a budget of 1 million yuan for the ring, so we can only buy a ready-made one. If you don't know about these things, just choose the most expensive one. I'm doing you a favor by telling you that the jewelry counts as your personal property. Gerald thought that I was a vain woman who had tried hard to climb into his bed, so he only allowed me to get a living expense of 3,000 yuan from the housekeeper every month. Naturally, the secretary also thought that it was a great favor for Gerald to give me 1 million yuan, but today, I accidentally sat on that chair, a chair specially customized for Ashley by a master. It cost 10 million yuan, in the master bedroom that I was never allowed to set foot in. There were things for Ashley worth no less than 1 billion yuan. I pushed away the tablet the secretary was using to show me the ring styles. You can choose it as you like. Anyway, that ring would be destroyed by Jeffrey in the end, just like all the things Gerald occasionally brought back for me, even if they were just some freebies. Moreover, I wouldn't wear it either. Just after I sent the secretary away, Jeffrey came back again. He opened the thermos box and splashed the boiling porridge at me. You'd better be smart and leave quickly, otherwise, the next time I'll splash sulfuric acid at you. He didn't have much strength, so the porridge all splashed onto the quilt, and only some of it splashed onto my arm. Obviously, it was the porridge that I got up early in the morning to cook for him yesterday, but now, it was still scaldingly hot. When Jeffrey saw that my arm was red, he left satisfied. The nurse came to change my bedding and apply medicine to me, before leaving. She hesitated for a moment, and finally said to me, "Some children just can't be tamed no matter how much you care for them." I looked down at the bandages all over my body, and tears couldn't stop falling. Yes, even an outsider could understand this. But I believed that sincerity could be exchanged for sincerity for 10 years. However, whether it was Gerald, who had been my childhood sweetheart, or Jeffrey, whom I had raised since he was a child, all I got in return for my sincerity was endless malice. I stayed in the hospital for more than half a month, and none of them came to visit me again. I hired a nurse and left the hospital in a wheelchair. When I went back to the Gerald family's house to get my things, I entered the door and saw those people who had ignored me all sitting in the living room, laughing and chatting merrily. The person surrounded in the middle was actually Ashley, who hadn't been heard from for 10 years. My parents hugged her tightly with red eyes. "Ashley, it's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. What do you want to eat? Mom and Dad will cook it for you." Jeffrey clung to her like a koala. "Mom, you're finally back. From now on, I'm no longer a child who has no one to care about." Gerald, who was as cold as an iceberg, also had a face full of joy. "Ashley, I knew that you definitely couldn't let go of me." They gathered around happily. As if the breakdown when Ashley left without a word was all fake. When my parents begged me to come back, one of them had a heart attack, and the other cried so much that their eyes were almost blind. They said that Ashley had no heart. I helped to rectify the company and resist the suppression from his family. After they sent me to Gerald's bed, even though I knew that the Gerald family might be a pit of fire, I still, out of their pleadings, entered the Gerald family, and Gerald, because of Ashley's departure, became decadent and withdrawn, drinking alcohol every day. I held Jeffrey and stayed by his side without leaving, helping him out of the darkness. He vowed to me that he would definitely live a good life with me in the future. As for Jeffrey, when he first learned that he was abandoned by Ashley, he was greatly shocked and cried day and night. It was only after I repeatedly promised that I would never leave him that he gradually became cheerful. But 10 years of painstaking efforts couldn't compare to Ashley's change of heart. The sound of my entering the house attracted everyone's attention. My parents said with an embarrassed expression, "Helen, why didn't you call in advance when you came back?" They had an expression as if I was out of place and had disturbed their family reunion. I retracted my gaze and instructed the nurse to push me upstairs. "I couldn't get in touch with you, so I couldn't call." During these days in the hospital, there were some places where the family members needed to sign. I called them hundreds of times, but no one answered. Also, regarding the arrangements for Jeffrey and Gerald's daily life after I left, the messages I sent also disappeared without a trace. But now, they were blaming me for not saying in advance. Gerald's face looked a bit unpleasant. "Alright, it was just a momentary oversight. You should go upstairs and rest. You just came back, so don't get tired." When had he ever been so considerate? He was just worried that I would disturb his reunion with Ashley. But I didn't care about these things anymore. Jeffrey, however, spoke sarcastically behind me. "Just leave. My mom is back. You vulgar woman. You're not even worth a single finger of my mom." Ashley over there was dressed up beautifully. And she was so delicate that even her hair was perfect, and she had long manicured nails. Indeed, she looked much more beautiful than me in my plain face and a sweatshirt. But I only stopped dressing up after taking care of Jeffrey. It wasn't just that I didn't have the time. I was also worried that my long hair would get tangled around his tiny fingers. I was concerned that my long fingernails might poke his delicate little face, and I was afraid that the perfume and cosmetics would irritate him. However, Jeffrey didn't care about any of these things. I ignored him and went straight upstairs. My supervisor called and talked to me about the previous arrangements. Finally, he asked worriedly, "Helen, have you really thought this through? After all, that's the child you've raised for 10 years. And Gerald, the relationship you've had since childhood, it should only have grown deeper over the past 10 years. So what?" As soon as Ashley showed up, I had no place to belong here at all. I said firmly, "Professor, I've thought it through. I don't belong here." After hanging up the phone, I was silent for a long time. When I turned around, I saw Gerald, who had been standing there for I don't know how long. Seeing the panicked look on my face, Gerald sneered disdainfully. "Alright, if you act any more, it'll be over the top. I made so much noise coming up here, and you're still pretending not to notice and talking on the phone like that, just because Ashley's back. You're playing the game of running away from home with me, aren't you?" Looking at his usual contempt, I felt a complex mix of emotions in my heart. Perhaps because I was about to leave, I thought of the past again. Gerald wasn't like this when he was a child. Back then, he trusted me unconditionally and followed me around. Even though my parents sent me to a boarding school 1,000 kilometers away from home because of Ashley, Gerald went on a hunger strike for 3 days and, at the risk of not getting his share of the family property, insisted that his family send him to my school. At that time, I thought that we could live happily ever after like in a fairy tale. Even though I longed for my parents' love in my heart, I fought desperately for the marriage contract with him. But when I finally managed to escape from the basement where my parents had imprisoned me, what I saw was him putting a ring on Ashley in a grandly decorated auditorium. My parents told me that I couldn't compare to Ashley. Only after Gerald realized this did he choose Ashley. I tried my best to tell myself that it wasn't true, but the smile on Gerald's face as he held Ashley couldn't be faked. Later, when my parents begged me to go to the Gerald family to clean up Ashley's mess, the moment I nodded, there was a bit of selfishness mixed in. I thought that Gerald and I could go back to the way we were before, but 10 years of sarcasm and ridicule have made me realize. In Gerald's eyes, there was indeed only Ashley. Dad, why did it take you so long to come up here and ask that bitch to cook? Mom is still hungry downstairs. Jeffrey's voice woke me up from my thoughts. Gerald in front of me glanced at me. Alright, stop thinking about those petty tricks. Go and cook for Ashley. She specifically asked for the food you make. If you perform well, I can consider letting you stay here. I gripped the armrests of the wheelchair tightly, suppressing the anger in my heart. I'm in this state, and you want me to cook for Ashley? Jeffrey shrieked first. You bitch, it's just a minor injury, and you have to pretend to be so pitiful. Just a minor injury. The doctor said that if I had been half an hour later, I would have been permanently disabled. In Jeffrey's eyes, it was just a minor injury. Looking at the face that I had been with day and night for 10 years, it was now full of contempt and resentment towards me. I could no longer find the look of when he was a child, when he would hold me softly and say that he only wanted Aunt Helen. Jeffrey used to tell me every day that it must be God's mistake. The mother he chose in heaven was clearly me. Fortunately, God sent me back to his side, but I don't know when it started. He began to avoid me. Later, he looked at me like an enemy. However, all these entanglements were about to end. I suppressed my emotions. The two people in front of me looked like they wouldn't give up unless I cooked. A bitter feeling spread in my heart, and I said self-deprecatingly, "At least you can push me downstairs." Gerald sneered and called a servant to push me. "Don't look for excuses to get close to me." When we got to the kitchen, Ashley swaggered in to order dishes, acting like the mistress of the house. "Thank you, sister, for taking care of the Gerald family for me. When you leave, I'll ask Yunju to give you more money. Just make the dishes casual today. You know my taste. Bird's nest porridge, braised sea cucumber, king crab. Just make them simple," the servant beside her said carefully. "But these dishes are very complicated and will take a long time to make. It will take 4 or 5 hours just to prepare the ingredients, and you won't allow us to help." Ashley raised an eyebrow. "Are you saying that I don't deserve to eat these?" My parents' angry scolding came from outside. "Helen, your sister just came back. Do you have to do this because of such a small thing?" Even though I told myself repeatedly, facing their blatant favoritism, my heart still ached. However, this was the last time. I stared at Ashley. "I'll be leaving tomorrow. You don't have to find ways to torture me anymore." Ashley's face lit up with joy. "You said it yourself. I didn't drive you away." "Alright, then let the servant help you." Ashley went out amidst the eager calls from the people outside. I started cooking under the pitying gazes of the servants. Although someone else took care of the ingredients, it was really difficult for me to operate while sitting in a wheelchair. I don't know how long it took, and my legs even started to ache faintly again. Only then was the table full of dishes finally finished. When I left the kitchen, the villa was quiet. The butler came and looked at me with an embarrassed expression. 3 hours ago, Miss Ashley said she wanted to eat snacks, so Mr. Genold and the others all went out. I wasn't even the least bit surprised by this scene. I just nodded softly and asked the servant to push me upstairs to pack my luggage. The next day, just as the sun was rising, the car that came to pick me up arrived. Just as the car was about to start, the driver exclaimed, "Whose child is that?" I leaned out to take a look. It was Jeffrey standing in front of the car. The little figure stood there with a cold and solemn expression. He was still wearing yesterday's clothes, which were all wrinkled. The morning air was still cold, and his small body was shivering in the cold wind. My heart softened, and just as I was about to speak, he interrupted me. "Dad is right. You women just love to act. You must have sent someone to keep an eye on me. You knew I wanted to come back quietly to prepare a surprise for Mom, so you're putting on this act of leaving here. I'm telling you, I won't let you stay." Looking at his expression as if he had expected this, my heart completely turned cold. 10 years of time. It was all just an illusion. I instructed the driver, "Let's go." As soon as the car started, I heard a commotion coming from behind. Jeffrey instructed the servants to throw out all the things I had used. As if he still wasn't satisfied, he picked up a stick and smashed those things fiercely. As the car drove away, Jeffrey and the Gerald family's villa gradually disappeared from my sight. I softly said goodbye. It wasn't them that I was saying goodbye to. It was the obsession that I had never let go of in the past 10 years. When I was about to board the plane, I took out my phone. I found that there were many calls from Gerald and my parents on my phone, which had been on silent. Since they couldn't get through to me, my parents also sent a long string of messages. "Helen, since Ashley is back, you should leave. The farther you go, the better. After all, this is Ashley's home. We'll let it go for the help you gave before, but it's really inappropriate for you to stay here now." After reading the message, I silently blocked them. As for Gerald, after thinking it over and over again, I still called him back. "Helen, stop making trouble. I'll just buy you another set of the things that Jeffrey smashed for you. You're sitting in a wheelchair like this and can't do anything. How many days can you stay outside? Come back. The Gerald family can still afford to support you." Even now, he still thought that I was just trying to be difficult and throwing a tantrum. I chuckled softly. "Gerald, do you think it sounds good for an elder sister to live in her brother-in-law's house?" There was a moment of silence on the other end, and then he said indifferently, "I'll just find you a fake marriage partner then. No one will gossip if we all live together as a family." How ridiculous. I laughed until tears came to my eyes. "Gerald, I don't have to be with you." The announcement urging passengers to board the plane sounded at the airport. Gerald on the other end was a bit angry and frustrated. "You've been with me for 10 years. Do you really think someone will want you if you go out? All right, stop pretending at the airport. I'll give you an hour. Hurry up and come back to me. Ashley and Jeffrey are still waiting for you to cook for them." I hung up the phone without hesitation. I took out their SIM card and threw it into the trash can without hesitation. The plane took off and faced the brilliant morning sun above the clouds. In the orange-red light, I let out a deep breath. From now on, it will be a new life. The professor arranged for someone from the research institute to pick me up at the airport. He specifically told me that this person was now the pillar of the research institute. He would tell me about the latest research progress on the way. I just thought it was an honor given to me by the professor. Unexpectedly, it was someone I knew. I looked at my junior brother in front of me, who had long since lost his youthful look. His eyes were full of joy when he saw me. Malcolm handed the flowers to me. "Senior sister, long time no see." Yes, it had been a long time. For 10 years, I had lived in the Gerald family's villa, which was like a cage. I never expected the power of 10 years to be so great. The junior brother who used to follow me and ask me all sorts of things was now the pillar of the research laboratory. My eyes turned red. "Yes, junior brother, long time no see. But now I'm afraid I should call you Professor Malcolm." Malcolm smiled easily. "Senior sister, don't make fun of me. If you hadn't left back then, it wouldn't have been my turn at all. It turned out that when my family forced me to give up the marriage contract with Gerald, it happened to be the crucial stage of a major project. I ran back without hesitation, but all I got was Gerald's change of heart. When I came back again, that project had also been completed. Fortunately, God showed mercy. And the research laboratory got another project. The professor specifically asked me to take the lead. As long as I made a breakthrough, my academic career in the future would be smooth sailing. But Ashley ran away, my parents threatened to die, and Gerald was indulging in decadence. In the end, I softened my heart. Once I went, I didn't expect it to be 10 years. Sitting in the car, I listened to Malcolm's detailed introduction, but I felt extremely unfamiliar with it. After being out of touch for 10 years, I was indeed too far away from this world. My former junior brother had become someone that I could only look up to. This made me even more surprised that the professor hadn't given up on me. He was willing to give me a chance to come back. I looked at Malcolm and said with difficulty, "Professor Malcolm, I don't quite understand." Malcolm was taken aback, and then he smiled easily. "Senior sister, don't call me that. It makes me feel several years older all of a sudden. If it's not convenient for you to call me junior brother in the institute, you can just call me Malcolm." Looking at his bright smile, I felt even more dejected. In the institute, with my current level, I'm afraid I won't be able to go back. Malcolm didn't try to comfort me either. He just sighed. Ah, senior sister, then I'm in trouble. Now there's a project at a crucial stage of tackling key problems. But we've been working hard for a year and still have no direction. I was thinking that this is exactly your main research direction before. As soon as you come, we can solve it. I could tell the deliberate joking in his words, but the heaviness in my heart still dissipated a bit. However, I still had to say the unpleasant words. After all, in these 10 years, apart from doing laundry, cooking, and taking care of the child, I hadn't learned anything new. The only thing engraved in my bones was that no one needed me. Gerald was like this, and so was Jeffrey. Even my own parents were the same. Rather than making the professor and Malcolm embarrassed later, it was better to make things clear now. The current progress has advanced so much compared to before, and I'm no longer the same as I used to be. Malcolm, you'd better not. Malcolm stopped the car and stared at me seriously. Helen, don't think that I'm just saying polite words. Or think that the professor is pitying you. There's only one reason for you to come back. You play an indispensable role in the Institute's project. Even after 10 years, your knowledge is still there. You're still our most talented senior sister. You have to believe that you deserve it. The certainty and sincerity in his words hit me in the chest. I was so stunned that I couldn't say anything. Could it be that someone actually needed me? They needed me just because of who I was. Tears rolled down uncontrollably, meeting Malcolm's expectant gaze. I nodded firmly. I also believe that I can do it, and I deserve it. Malcolm smiled. Helen, this is the you that I know. I've sorted out the materials from the past few years in the accommodation arranged for you. While you're catching up on the progress, you can also recover from your injury. If you don't understand anything, come and ask me. Don't be afraid to trouble me. Outside the car window, those somewhat unfamiliar foreign scenes gradually became familiar again. I remembered when I was doing my PhD, I took Malcolm to climb the tallest building in this city, overlooking the prosperity of this city. I asked Malcolm, do you believe that I can change the world? Before Malcolm could answer, I shouted towards the night sky, I definitely will. Yes, I definitely will. The wish I made when I was young is now waiting for me to fulfill it. The days of catching up on the progress and learning new things were very busy, but I didn't feel tired at all. After Malcolm caught me staying up late to read the materials several times, he directly moved next door to me to supervise me. Helen, with this way of yours, how can your leg get better? I had no choice but to follow the regular schedule under his supervision. I also had to go for walks in the park from time to time. Malcolm also had his reasons. Breathing fresh air is helpful for generating inspiration. Even the 3 meals a day were all taken care of by him. At first, I thought it would be good enough if he could cook noodles and fry an egg, but what was placed in front of me was a meal of 4 dishes and 1 soup that looked and smelled delicious. And they were all my favorite dishes. Although I was surprised, I didn't think too much about it. After all, there weren't many delicious foods abroad. Even my cooking skills were honed when I was studying abroad. At that time, Malcolm used to mooch off my meals every day. I guessed that he just cooked the dishes that I often made back then. Taken care of by Malcolm, my leg recovered quickly. After more than a month, I could walk on the ground. But except when I was doing rehabilitation exercises, Malcolm still made me sit in a wheelchair. It takes 100 days to recover from an injury to the muscles and bones. What's more, you were so seriously injured and must rest for a longer time. I couldn't find any words to refute him. I was just thinking that this was what it felt like to be cared for by someone. No wonder Gerald didn't want to let me go even though Ashley had come back. In fact, during the past 10 years, the care and attention I gave him could be described as meticulous. This thought flashed through my mind for a moment and then was thrown to the back of my head. There were still so many academic materials to read. Those people weren't worth my time and effort. They didn't even deserve a single thought from me. Just as I was all prepared and about to officially return to the research institute, Gerald blocked the door of my house. He also brought Jeffrey, who was crying his eyes out. As soon as I opened the door, Jeffrey rushed up and hugged me. You're a big badass. How could you run so far away? Dad and I have been looking for you for a long time. Do you know that? I was speechless and looked down, gently pushing Jeffrey away. Don't do this. I don't like children. Jeffrey stood there in a daze, his face full of disbelief. Indeed, in the past, I had never refused any of his requests, not to mention saying something like I didn't like children. Jeffrey wrinkled his nose, and big tears rolled down his face. You weren't like this before. I didn't even look at him. You said it yourself. That was in the past, facing my coldness. Gerald didn't scold me. Instead, he coaxed me softly. Helen, I know you're still angry. If you're not happy, just scold him a few more times. It's all this brat's fault for being so reckless. He hurt your body and your heart, which drove you away. Punish him well. When you've cooled down, come back with us. Listening to his senseless words, my expression became even colder. Are you two father and son deaf? When did I ever tell you that I wanted to go back? After I refuted him several times, Gerald finally became unhappy. All right, there's a limit to throwing a tantrum. You left without a word, and Jeffrey and I even came all the way abroad to find you. What else do you want? In the past 10 years, I had endured so many cold words and looks, but now, with just one word from me, Gerald couldn't take it anymore. I was too lazy to pay attention to him and pushed him aside to leave. Malcolm had gone to the research institute early, saying that he wanted to prepare a welcome ceremony for me. I couldn't let down his kindness, but Gerald grabbed me. Sorry, Helen, I didn't react in time just now, so I spoke to you like that. Yes, over the past 10 years, he had gotten used to sneering at me, but the apology and the show of weakness now were also things I had never seen before. As proud as Gerald was, he had never bowed his head for anyone, even for Ashley. He had never admitted his fault, however. I didn't care about these things now. I coldly shook off Gerald's hand. Don't waste your time on me. There's already one mistress in your house. Ashley, why do you have to bring me, a burden, back? During the past half year, I thought that Ashley should have reconciled with him long ago, and Jeffrey had also found his long-awaited biological mother. But now, Gerald fell into an eerie silence, and Jeffrey sniffled and started crying again. She ran away. She cheated Dad out of his money and ran away again. She also swindled all of Grandpa and Grandma's family property. As he cried, Jeffrey rolled up his sleeve and revealed his still bruised arm. Look, she also hit and scolded me. She said I'm just a debt collector and not as good as her child with Uncle Sean at all. Sorry, Mom, I was wrong. I didn't know it would hurt so much to be injured. It was all my fault back then. I shouldn't have pushed you. Gerald also took out a ring with red eyes and knelt down on one knee in front of me. Helen, I just realized who is truly sincere to me now. Come back. I'll give you a marriage 10 times grander than Ashley's and make you the legitimate my wife. The things I had longed for were all presented in front of me, but I suddenly felt bored. I even felt a bit disgusted. So, 10 years hadn't won me their true feelings. But just half a year of comparison made them realize my goodness. This kind of change of heart only made me feel nauseous. Without even looking at them, I turned around and left. I don't have the hobby of collecting second-hand trash. Oh, no, if you think about it carefully, you two are already third-hand. Gerald was about to chase after me, but the security guards downstairs came and stopped him. When I arrived at the research institute, I was a few minutes late. I apologized with regret, and fortunately, everyone didn't mind. When they heard that someone had blocked my way, they all gave me suggestions one after another. Malcolm also frowned. It seems that the security there is not good. All sorts of people can get in. I'll take you to move tomorrow to prevent those irrelevant people from harassing you. Just as I was about to speak, Gerald's voice came from behind me. I'm her husband. How am I an irrelevant person? Gerald's eyes were full of anger. He stared fixedly at Malcolm. So, it's because of this pretty boy that you abandoned me and the child. Malcolm also turned cold. He first sent his colleagues away and then said to Gerald, show some respect. Gerald became even angrier. You're seducing my wife, and you still have the nerve to ask me to show respect. Malcolm was so angry that he laughed. Is she your wife? Do you have a marriage certificate? Gerald didn't give in at all. She has lived with me for 10 years. I've seen every part of her. Isn't she my wife? Pretty boy, I'm telling you, this is called a de facto marriage. The relationship between me and her isn't something that can be decided by just a piece of paper. As soon as he said these blatant words, I felt extremely embarrassed. Yes, those 10 years were the time that I couldn't erase. When I talked about it with Malcolm and the others usually, it was just a few words, but now he had torn off that fig leaf. He exposed all my most embarrassing past in front of others, but Malcolm didn't show the slightest bit of disgust. He gave me a comforting look, stood in front of me, and blocked all of Gerald's gazes. Oh, then you're committing bigamy. As far as I know, you and Ashley haven't divorced, have you? Gerald's words were stuck in his throat. Malcolm continued unhurriedly, and I didn't ask you to show respect to me, I asked you to show respect to Helen. Is this how you usually make her feel embarrassed in front of others? Under such circumstances, how can you still say that she's your wife? I think you're more polite to your servants than to her. I was taken aback and looked at Malcolm's tall back. An indescribable emotion welled up in my heart. Gerald stammered for a long time and couldn't come up with a single word of refutation. Finally, he could only say dejectedly, "I'll change, I'll treat Helen well in the future." I stepped forward and said firmly, "But I don't want that, Gerald, I've already wasted 10 years on you. I don't want to continue anymore." Gerald looked as if he was about to collapse. "I know, but, Helen, you have to give me a chance to make amends, just like I gave you." I was confused. "What chance of making amends did you give me?" Gerald looked at me deeply, his eyes full of complexity. "Back then, you ran away on our wedding day. If it weren't for Ashley stepping in, I would have become the laughingstock of the whole city." I frowned deeply. Before I could figure out what he meant, Malcolm spoke up. Gerald stared at me in surprise, as if he didn't expect me to say such a thing. "Back then, she gave up a project that was crucial to her future career in order to go back to you. She was even locked in the basement by her parents for a whole month. Go back and check carefully who tricked you back then." Gerald was stunned as if struck by lightning. "Do you mean that Helen didn't abandon me?" I didn't answer, but just said, "It's all in the past. I just hope that you won't come to find me again in the future." Jeffrey understood and burst into tears. "Mom, you can't abandon me." I squatted down for the last time and wiped the tears from his face. "This is the last lesson I teach you. You have to take responsibility for your actions." After saying that, I turned around and entered the research institute. I didn't look back at the two dejected people behind me, perhaps out of guilt. They didn't show up again later. They did send a video of my parents' apology, but I turned it off after watching the beginning. The research institute also received a huge amount of research funding, which was specifically designated for me. I didn't decline and accepted it all. They owed me this in the first place. With the funding, the project progressed smoothly. On the day when we announced the research results and held a press conference, I gave a speech on behalf of the institute. In the audience, the haggard Gerald held Jeffrey, and the two of them stared at me without blinking. But after the event ended, the two of them didn't come to find me. They just sent a bouquet of flowers. In the greeting card tucked in the flowers was the regular script that I had taught Jeffrey stroke by stroke. "Mom, I wish you all the best and great success." There was also a small line of words next to it.